With welcoming you very much to this information meeting about the course Teaching and Learning that you will attend in about a month from now. Today we will actually video record the meeting so that those who could not be present today will have a chance to see it on a movie later on. Some of you will take this only as the first course in a number of courses as part of the education program called UDTU for new teachers at DTU. While others, especially the PhD students, will only take this course for now, and then perhaps we'll see you back later if you will stay at DTU as assistant professors later on. However, that gives us some different background. Some of you are closer to the life as a student and closer to remembering what makes it difficult to be a student and how teachers can improve the situation for students, while others have some more teaching experience. So for some of you, teaching may be a new field entirely, and others will have quite some experience to build on. However, the course is designed in a way to give you all a chance to try out things that you may not have tried earlier and have discussions and feedback around whatever you try out. Our intention with the course is that you give some get some methods and some tools and techniques related to teaching, and also that you get some practice, some teaching practice. And that's because learning to teach is obviously not something you can do by studying a lot of textbooks only, at least, or by watching other people teach. Other things have to be done. So trying out yourself is actually part of becoming a better teacher. And therefore, the course design is very much based on what you could call a learning by doing concept that I can try to draw here, where we say we have some doing, which is the teaching exercises that you are all going to perform during the course, an individual teaching exercise. That is a very core part of this course. So this is very important for the whole course design. However, only to do something like trying to teach for a limited time is not necessarily a source of learning. You have to do something more, because in order to learn from this experience, it's important that you also have a plan, have some considerations, have made some choices, have discussed different possibilities to choose between before doing the teaching. So the planning and preparation of the teaching exercise is actually an important part of the whole teaching and learning experience during this course, because this is where you will consider which teaching methods will be appropriate for my topic related to the persons I'm going to teach. How could I do it? What do I want to acquire? How can I acquire what I want to? What different alternatives do I have, and so on? And that's considerations and discussions that you will have both individually and in a group. Because during the course, we will organize you in groups of 4 persons who will work together to a large extent in the planning and preparation phase. You also have to work individually. You have to do something before coming to the course, and there you are on your own. And you will also have time during the course to do some individual work, which you may need in order to finish teaching material that you will use. So both working in groups and individually will be a part of the planning and preparation process. And then, in order to really get a learning experience from the teaching exercise you do, there's also an important phase afterwards, which has to do with giving you feedback on the teaching exercise that you have done. And we will organize feedback sessions that will actually last even longer than the teaching sequence that you will do, in order to have an opportunity to discuss what worked, what could be an inspiration for all of us, what were good techniques, and what methods did you use that seemed to support the learning for the participants. And also what could be done differently? What didn't really work in relation to this target group? How could you have done things in another way? Also, discussions about the teaching method or methods you use will be part of the feedback sessions. And this will all be, hopefully, a source of reflection for yourself, because we may give you some feedback and some advice that it's up to you to use. It's your own choice what you will actually use and take with you from these feedback sessions. So you need to reflect for yourself also on what you experienced when teaching and what you actually got from the feedback sessions. So learning by doing is actually all of this: planning, doing, and getting feedback and reflect on the feedback. Then during the course we will also organize some sessions where we will discuss and present different principles related to learning, how do people learn, and teaching, how can we organize teaching in a way that will provide learning for the learners, for the students. So some plenary sessions where we will present material and discuss it will also be part of the course, especially during the first days. And hopefully, that's at least our intention, this will provide some relevant input for the whole process, both the preparation and what you do and the way we discuss it afterwards. And then before going home, after the course has finished, we will have some summary related to the teaching methods you have worked with, also giving you a chance to make an individual action plan where you can consider, what did I learn during the course? What do I want to follow up on? What will I take with me and in my future practice as a teacher? So this is the elements that are part of the course and based on this course design. The program, I hope we will have time to go through the program before you leave today, because this of course is not a program. This is more the conceptual elements that we work with during the course. Any comments or questions so far? Okay. So the exercises, as I said, is really a core part of this course. And in order to help you prepare for the course in the best way, we have found that it's a good investment to gather you to this meeting. So that on the one hand, make sure that you prepare what we hope and want you to prepare. And on the other hand, don't waste a lot of time on preparing things that are not really worthwhile. So we will look a little bit more into these exercises. But besides giving you a chance of optimizing your preparation before the course, this is also an opportunity to meet one another, at least some of the people you will work with during the course, and also an opportunity to ask questions related to the course of any kind. So please, if questions pop up in your mind, please phrase them. Yep. So let's look at the preparation for the teaching exercises. The very first thing to consider, and maybe reconsider at some time during your preparation, is the topic that you are going to teach. That's also always an important part of teaching. That is that you have something to teach, something that somebody should learn. And when thinking about the topic, there are two pieces of advice I'd like to give you. One is, it should be something that is relevant for teaching at DTU or at similar universities. So a topic that could be taught in a DTU course. It doesn't necessarily have to be taught in a present or existing course, but something that could be embedded in some kind of teaching at DTU. That's one criteria. So no sports instruction, so no language teaching, because that may be other methods and other considerations that are perhaps more or less different from what we meet when teaching at DTU. Another thing to think of is something that you are familiar with, because this, this course is focusing on the teaching and learning aspects and not on the technical subject part. So all the subject matter details is not something that should distract you too much from preparing a teaching session that will work in this context. So don't choose a topic that will require you to spend days and nights and weeks to learn about yourself. Yes. However, there's another thing to consider when choosing the topic, and especially when trying to delimit the content that you want to teach. And that has to do with the time frame available here. Do you remember from the invitation letter for this meeting, how long time do you have for this teaching exercise? 20 minutes. That was a test, actually, of whether you had read the information letter, because I think it's written 2 or 3 times there. Is it always 20 minutes? Did some of you go longer into the material? I think Søs.
No, longer into the material.
Yeah, no. Yeah?
No.
But you might know, perhaps. Actually, in one of the teaching methods we use, that is a group work-based teaching, you will actually have a little more time, that is 30 minutes. Still, it's not a lot of time, and that's 30 minutes is to allow for activities to happen where the students are actually working. So it's a limited time frame, and that, of course, has some impact on how much you can cover and how much you can expect your participants to learn during the exercise you have. And then, on the other hand, you also have to think of the target group, which is a little, you could say, artificial in a way, because in the course you will be teaching one another. And it's obvious just from looking at your name signs that you represent very many different areas of research at DTU. So you cannot expect to teach people who are at all specialists within your field. You have to think of this as a very broad target group of beginners or non-specialists when it comes to your topic. So that's also something to take into account when thinking of a topic and what content to work with. And that may have some implications on the approach or the way you handle a topic that you are familiar with. Because it's not everything that will work with this very broad target group. So what could you do if you, for instance, decide to teach a topic that is related to your present research project as PhD student or whatever? How could you then handle it when teaching this very broad target group? Do you have any ideas? You would probably not jump directly into the most complicated calculations, for instance, just to give you a hint. So what could you do instead?
Start with the basics.
Start with the basics, and Jakob? General introduction. Give a general introduction. Good points. So you might put it down here. Which will always have to be done. You will always have to make some introductions and start with the basics. So, and that may even be the most important part of a course, to make sure that people have actually got the right foundation for whenever it's becoming more complicated. So that's a very good general way of thinking of this. And it might be to a larger area, or it might be a subtopic where you make an introduction to that. Is there anything else you could do in order to make it conceivable for this very broad target group? I guess some of you work in a very technical area, and in order to open a very specific area for a broader target group, what could you do?
Prior reading or something like this.
Pardon?
Some prior reading.
Some prior reading, yeah, that might be possible. However, only on very limited text, because you will have to find out during the course to distribute and persuade people to spend time on reading before. But it's not impossible. Might be an idea to establish a common ground, yes?
Either to illustrate what are we actually talking about, or to find maybe some general metaphors or something for what are the processes or the dynamics that this
Yes, so something about illustrations, either visual illustrations or verbal illustrations like metaphors, in order to give people a hello.
Are you people, Chris?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yes, so you come to the right place, I think.
Yeah.
Yes, please take a seat. So something that can make it possible for the participants to relate to this area by making it more visually or verbally to be recognized, perhaps. Yes? Other ideas? I might add then on behalf of myself that working with applications of technology might also be a good way of introducing a topic to make it relevant again to something that people can relate to. How is this used? Why is this important? What can it do for helping you or the world or whatever? Might be a good way of making a technical area more conceivable and motivated for this broad target group. Yes? Then there might be some subjects that could lead up to, for instance, a discussion on ethical, it might have actually relations to the applications of technology. Ethical aspects of a certain technology is something that people might be able to relate to and discuss from what they know from their civil life, so to say. So there might be different angles that you could put into your topic in order to address this target group of non-specialists. I hope this at least gave you some ideas to start on. It is a challenge, this. Comments? Questions to that? Okay. Well, having picked the topic and having started to consider how can I delimit this and what approaches can I put on the topic, next thing will then have to be to consider possible teaching material. And teaching material could be like giving out a text to be studied before starting the exercise. However, there are so many other possibilities. When teaching, we often use the spoken word as a very important part of the teaching. And then sometimes we also use a board like this. But I'm sure you have experienced lots of other teaching materials. So what I would like to do now is that ask you to actually make a brainstorm at the tables where you're seated in order to just list a number of different teaching materials. It's not about discussing the pros and cons and putting them into a large context. Of course, you could do so also, but it's more about just setting your imagination free and think of what possible teaching materials could you use in teaching at a place like DTU. And you don't have to restrict yourself to what can be embedded in this course context. It could be more general as well. Is that clear, or do you have any questions to this task? Okay, you'll have about, I think, 5 minutes to make this brainstorm and discussion, and then we will sum up here. I would guess that together you can cover a very broad number of teaching materials, and somebody got into a discussion of when is it a method and when is it teaching materials, and I don't think we should be too strict on those kind of distinctions now. The purpose of this exercise is to give you some inspiration for your own teaching exercises and what kind of materials you could think of using for your own teaching exercise. So therefore, let's just get a lot of ideas, and then some of them may be a source of inspiration for you, some of you. Okay? Would you like to start here then?
Yeah, we'll go for the obvious one, some PowerPoint slides.
Yeah. I think I'll only write slides because, you know, it doesn't have to be from Microsoft. So, yes, and a few others from your table?
Sort of whiteboard.
Yes. Whiteboard or blackboard? Yes. And do you have the next one here?
Laboratory exercises.
Yes, laboratory exercises. Where students work themselves, yes. And again, you could say, is this a method or is it teaching material? Well, the equipment you have at the lab, available at the lab, is definitely teaching material, so it's fine to mention. Should we move to the next table and see if you have something to add?
Movies.
Movies, yes. So, yeps. And others? Models, yes. So now we have some. What kind of models could that be? Could we have some examples?
Okay, it could be physical models.
Physical models, yes. Objects, or yes, like. Have any of you used that? Or?
Yeah, well, I come from civil engineering, so
Yeah.
we very often use this.
Yes, to demonstrate materials and constructions, and yes, in civil engineering. It might also be in chemistry, like molecules that are built up like models in big size, so you can really see how it's formed. Yes, fine. Should we move to the next table?
We were thinking about all kinds of experiments that you can make.
Yes.
Very specific, in my case of computer science, live programming.
Yes. So I just generalize it a little and say, well, it might include some programming experiments. Of course, it might also be related to what you can do in a lab. But there are things that could be applied in many different disciplines. Yes? Do you have others?
Yes, including a guest speaker.
Yeah, that was mentioned by this group as well. And though the guest speaker might not be content if you call him or her and say, I want some teaching material, can you help me? Then at least you can see it as an alternative to showing a movie, for instance. So in that way, you can see it as a resource you can take into the classroom and help you. Yep. Other?
We also talked about study trips,
Yes.
going to different sites.
Yes.
Things in practice.
So field trips, taking the students out in the real world and see how it smells and looks and sounds to be in a, for instance, a big plant might be very relevant.
We also talked about learning and simulations.
Yes, simulations. Yes, that's nice. So if you cannot really perform the real exercise all the time, a simulation may be, in some cases, perhaps even better because it can clarify some core points that might be difficult to see when doing the real thing. So, yeah.
It allows you to make mistakes.
Yes. Of course, you can also, students can also make mistakes in other kinds of exercises. However, here it's usually more free of cost. So, yeah, good point. And is there anything left for the last group then? Because we have been quite around.
I think homework is
Homework, yes. Why not?
Classic.
Homework like textbooks at least, and
good examples.
and exercises. Yeah.
Computers.
Yeah. Computers. Yes. Computers can be used as a means for a lot of these different things. So they may be difficult to place one place.
We also discussed about theater and or different kind of plays.
Yes, like role plays, for instance. So it may be a kind of simulation only by using your own body. Yes, fine. Is there anything left? Maybe the first couple of groups have something to add now?
We can use simple papers with some information which can be distributed.
Yes. So, besides textbooks, papers, are you thinking of scientific papers, for instance, or?
Maybe not. I
No.
know some.
Yeah. Okay. But depending on the level and the topic, scientific papers may also be a very good source of knowledge and also of the methodology having to do with writing these papers. So that could be a good supplement to textbooks. Yep. I think we got quite around. And of course, I think we could find other variations also, but still, if some of this could be a source of inspiration for you when thinking of how could I support the topic and the content I want to teach in this 20 minutes teaching exercise. Is there a movie? I don't expect you to produce one yourself, of course, but YouTube is a very good source of very many video clips that might be actually a shorter way of showing and demonstrating and explaining something that you can do by words or simply by words. So it might be a good supplement. I guess you could have come up with the idea of using slides by yourself, but still remember that there are so many different things you can combine in a good way also. So it's always worth considering what are the slides good for and when would a blackboard be better, depending on what parts of the session we're talking about. So yes, thank you very much for your contribution here. Next thing we'll then I will go back to your preparation here, because after having considered teaching material to support the content or the topic you're going to teach, there are also some papers to read. We have also thought that it would be a good idea to prepare yourself by reading something to establish a kind of common ground. So we have given you a very general introduction to the area of teaching and learning in engineering education. The three papers are placed on the table over there. You can take copies if you want. Then we have made a paper about teaching methods specifically for this course. It's tailored to this course because it describes 4 teaching methods that you will work with in the groups that you're placed in. So you are 4-person groups working with 4 different teaching methods in a way that each person will be responsible for using one of these methods. So therefore you should be familiar with the methods in question, and one of them, which is called the inductive method, is further described in the 3rd paper, because it may be the one that is a little bit difficult to understand. So we have given you some more information about that, but only read the first 8 pages. It's a long paper, and you're only expected to read page 1 to 8. And when you have read about the teaching methods, then you should consider which of these teaching methods, and we have 4, could be a good way of teaching my topic. And hopefully you will find that more than one of the 4 teaching methods will be appropriate for your topic, because then it will be much easier to negotiate in the group about how to distribute the 4 teaching methods. But that means that you will not know in advance which of the 4 teaching methods that you will use for your teaching exercise. And that again means that there's absolutely no reason to make a detailed preparation of a 20-minute teaching session before you know. So don't think you should prepare everything for a 20-minute session before coming to the course. There will be time to do it during the course. If you have thought about the topic and content, if you have thought about the materials that you could use, it's a very good basis. And maybe you can even bring materials if you have like physical models and objects and or some films and so on. It will be a good idea to bring from the first day, because then already when starting discussing with your groups about the teaching methods and this individual teaching exercises, you will be ready to show it immediately. So I guess that was the most important message from this meeting actually. Don't prepare everything in detail. However, read the papers, become familiar with the teaching methods that we will work with during the course, and then you will have a good basis for negotiation. Questions to that? What I should stress also is that when you do these teaching exercises, it will be your chance to try something out that in a safe environment, where people will be loyal to the situation and give you constructive feedback. So for those of you who have some teaching experience, try to find and try out methods that you haven't done earlier. So if you have done some large class lecturing, then maybe you should try out how to organize a group work, or how to run a dialogue which involves the students to a very large extent, just to try out something new. Yep. For those of you who haven't taught at all, everything will be new, so that's easier. I have the program also, in case you're interested in seeing it. Here it is. So the first day, we will start out with a lot of plenum sessions, just to have a common ground to work from. But already after lunch, we'll start to talk about the teaching exercises. And then the rest of the day will be reserved for planning and preparation of the teaching exercises. And that's where you're going to negotiate and decide who will take what teaching methods for your individual teaching exercises. We will introduce you to learning objectives, and there's a requirement that you actually formulate at least preliminary learning objectives for your own teaching exercises before leaving the first day. But hopefully you will also get further into the preparation of what you are going to teach and how you're going to organize it. Next morning, we will meet with half of the groups at 9 o'clock. 3 course leaders will do that. And then at 10 o'clock, we will meet with the rest of the groups. After lunch, we will have a guest speaker, actually. We can discuss whether he's a material or a method. He will share his experience as a DTU teacher for many years with you, and he will focus on feedback from students as a tool to develop as a teacher. And then he will also share with you some general principles about giving and receiving feedback that we will use extensively in the feedback sessions related to your own teaching exercises. Apart from the meeting with the course leader and the guest speaker, the second day is very much up to yourself to organize. We hope that you will manage to get your groups working in a good way so that you can actually use each other for making small rehearsals, for discussions about the choices you have to make. Discuss, for instance, different illustrations. How do they work with people who are not familiar with the subject already, and so on. And first of all, your group will be the best way of discussing how to meet an appropriate level with this board target group. So instead of going back to your own office and discuss with colleagues, then it's better actually to discuss with some non-specialists about the appropriate level. So that's day number 2. And day number 3 will then be very much dominated by the teaching exercises. And here you can see the first teaching method we will run is the one we have called dialogue-based teaching, which will involve extensive interaction with the students. And then we have a plenum session early in the afternoon, and then still a number of teaching exercises. Here it's the inductive approach that is tried out. What we will do practically during the teaching exercises is that we will divide you into parallel tracks, just like in a conference. So we will be 3 course leaders running each a session in parallel. So you will be 2 groups combined, 2 4-person groups combined in each of these parallel tracks. And that's why there's always 2 instances of the same teaching methods. Is that clear? Okay, you're bright people, or you're very polite people. Last day, well, then we will run the 2 remaining teaching methods. The one we have called large classes, which is intended to be a large class that will, in different ways, break the one-way communication that is typical for lectures in lecture halls. And then we have this group work-based teaching allowing for a little more time. And we will sum up in the afternoon. Is there any questions to the program or other kind of things having to do with the course? No? Wow, wow. But then I think we should close this.